Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of Terra's Hope, watching the stars through the wide windows. His ship had been traveling for 3 months, exploring new worlds beyond Earth's solar system. The crew was excited because they had found signs of life on a planet in the Kepler 442 system. "Captain, we have something strange on the sensors," said Officer Jin A. Park, looking worried at her screen. "There are ships approaching us. Big ships." Daeho walked over to look at the display. What he saw made his heart race. 3 massive vessels were moving toward them, each one 10 times larger than Terra's Hope. The ships looked like they were made of crystal, shining with blue and purple lights. "Try to contact them," Daeho ordered. "Let them know we come in. Peace." Before Jin-A could send a message, the alien ships surrounded Terra's Hope. A voice suddenly filled the bridge, speaking in perfect English through some kind of translator. "Primitive species designated as humans." The voice was cold and emotionless. "You have entered space that belongs to the Volonic Empire. This is forbidden." Daeho stepped forward. "This is Captain Daeho Kim of the Earthship Terra's Hope. We didn't know this space belonged to anyone. We're explorers, not invaders." "Your ignorance is not an excuse," the alien voice replied. "I am High Commander Vex Thari of the Volonic Empire. We have ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. Your species will retreat to your birth system immediately." The main screen lit up, showing a tall, thin creature with pale blue skin and 4 arms. Its eyes were completely black, and crystals grew from its forehead. Vexathari looked at the humans like they were insects. "You have 30 of your Earth days to remove all human presence from space beyond your solar system," Vexathari continued. "Any human found outside your birth system after this time will be destroyed. This is not a negotiation. This is a command." Daeho felt anger rising in his chest. "What gives you the right to tell us where we can and cannot go? Space belongs to everyone." Vexathari made a sound that might have been laughter. "Rights belong to those with power. You are a young species with primitive technology. We could destroy your entire civilization with a single fleet. Do not test our patience." The transmission ended, and the alien ships disappeared as quickly as they had arrived. The bridge was silent for a long moment. "Set course for Earth," Daeho said quietly. "Emergency speed." Back on Mars Base Alpha, Commander Soo-Jin Park received the message from Terra's Hope with growing alarm. She immediately contacted Earth's government and military leaders. Within hours, an emergency meeting was called in Geneva. President Min-ho Lee sat at the head of a large table, surrounded by generals, scientists, and world leaders. The room was tense as they watched the recording from Terra's Hope. "They're giving us 30 days, said Admiral Yeon-Soo Choi, commander of Earth's Space Fleet. "That's not enough time to evacuate all our colonies, even if we wanted to." "Maybe we should consider it," said Defense Minister Kyung-Soo Han. "We have 12 colonies and 6 space stations outside the solar system. If these aliens are as powerful as they claim, we can't fight them." "And what happens next?" asked Dr. Hae-Jin Nam, Earth's top expert on alien life. "We hide in our solar system forever? What if they decide we're a threat anyway?" Dr. Nam stood up and activated a holographic display. "I've been studying the alien transmission. There are traces of other languages in their communication system. I think they've dealt with many other species before." She pointed to strange symbols floating in the air. "These are fragments of at least 6 different languages embedded in their translator. I believe these are from species that no longer exist." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what she was suggesting. "You think they've destroyed other civilizations?" President Lee asked. "I think they give the same ultimatum to every new species they encounter," Dr. Nam replied. "Submit or die." Most probably choose to submit. "Those who don't?" General Taeho Lim leaned forward. "How many ships do we have that could fight?" Admiral Choi looked at her tablet. 47 combat vessels, mostly patrol ships and cargo haulers, with weapons. Nothing designed for real war. What about our space stations and colonies? Asked Dr. Sung-Min Kong, head of the Space Development Agency. Each colony has some defensive weapons, Admiral Choi said, but they're meant to stop pirates and asteroids, not alien warships. President Lee was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. How long would it take to build a real defense? Months, maybe years, General Lim answered. We'd need to convert our industrial facilities, train soldiers for space combat, develop new weapons. We don't have years, Minister Han said. We have 30 days. Dr. Nam stepped forward again. There's something else. The aliens called us primitive, but they still felt the need to threaten us. Why would an advanced civilization waste time threatening insects? She paused, looking around the room. Maybe they're not as strong as they want us to believe. Maybe they use fear because they have to. Engineer Taemin Song, who had been quiet until now, suddenly spoke up. Our industrial capacity is larger than any species in history. We have automated factories on dozens of worlds, mining operations throughout the solar system, and assembly facilities that never stop working. He stood up, excitement in his voice. They might have better technology, but we can build things faster than anyone in the galaxy if we can figure out how to turn our industrial power into military power. Admiral Choi understood immediately. You're talking about mass production, building thousands of ships instead of dozens. Exactly, Taemin said. They expect us to fight like a traditional military. What if we fight like humans? President Lee looked around the room. All in favor of telling the Volonic Empire exactly what they can do with their ultimatum? Every hand in the room went up. Then it's decided, President Lee said. Get me a direct communication link to this High Commander Vexithari. It's time to give them our answer. 3 days later, Commander Sujin Park sent a message to the Volonic Empire. It was short and simple. To High Commander Vexithari and the Volonic Empire, we have received your ultimatum. Here is our response. No, Earth will not retreat. Our colonies will not surrender. If you want us gone, you'll have to come and take us. We'll be waiting. The message was signed by every leader on Earth and every colony in space. The die was cast. Humanity had chosen to fight. High Commander Vexithari received the human response on her flagship, the Crystal Throne. She read it twice, unable to believe what she was seeing. In 50,000 years of Volonic expansion, no species had ever simply said no to their ultimatum. Commander, said her aide, Captain Kelmiran, perhaps the translation was incorrect? Vexithari's black eyes narrowed. The translation is perfect. These humans are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. She paused. Send probe ships to monitor their activities. I want to know what they're planning. On Earth, the next 3 weeks were unlike anything in human history. Every factory, every shipyard, every mining station was converted to military production. Engineer Taemin Song worked 18-hour days, redesigning industrial equipment to build weapons and ships. The Luna shipyards, which normally built cargo vessels, began producing warships. They weren't pretty or advanced, but they were fast to build and packed with weapons. Captain Ji-Woo Han supervised the testing of the first new fighter craft. It looks like a flying brick, said pilot Soo-Young Kim, climbing into the cockpit. Flying. Bricks can still hurt when they hit something, Ji-Woo replied. Just make sure you hit them harder than they hit you. Dr. Hye-Jin Nam made another important discovery while studying the alien probe ships that had begun watching human colonies. Their shields are incredibly strong against energy weapons, she told Admiral Yan Soo Choi. But I noticed something interesting about their hull composition. She pulled up a scan of a Volonic probe. Their ships are made from some kind of crystalline material. It's very advanced, but crystals have a weakness. They're brittle. A strong enough physical impact could shatter them. This information changed everything. Instead of trying to match Volonic energy weapons, humans focused on kinetic weapons. railguns that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds, and ships designed to ram into enemy vessels. Captain Daeho Kim, back from his encounter with the aliens, was put in charge of training new ship crews. "Forget everything you know about space combat," he told a group of young officers. "The aliens expect us to fight like they do, organized, predictable, following rules. We're going to fight like humans." Lieutenant Ha-Newell Kim, a former asteroid miner, had an idea that would change the war. "What if we don't just build big ships?" she asked during a strategy meeting. "What if we build thousands of small ones?" She explained her plan to General In-Soo Yang. "In asteroid mining, we use small, automated drones to break up rocks. We could modify them to carry explosives instead of mining tools. One drone might not hurt a big alien ship, but 1,000 drones could tear it apart," General Yang finished. "How many could we build?" "With our current industrial capacity, maybe 50,000 in the next week." The Volonic probe ships watched human activity with growing confusion. Instead of the organized military buildup they expected, they saw what looked like chaos. Hundreds of small ships launching from every human facility, civilian vessels being fitted with weapons, and massive swarms of tiny objects spreading throughout the solar system. Captain Kelmiran reported back to High Commander Vexathari. "The humans appear to be in panic. They're launching everything they have in random directions. Their ships have no clear formation or strategy." Vexathari was pleased. "As expected, they know they cannot win, so they flee in disorder. Perhaps we won't need to destroy them all. A show of force should be enough to make them surrender." But Dr. Hyojin Nam had been watching the probe ships, and she noticed something important. "They're not just spying on us," she told Admiral Choi. "They're trying to understand our strategy, but they're looking for the wrong things." "What do you mean?" "They expect us to fight like they do, with big ships in formation following military protocols. They can't recognize our real strategy because it's completely different from anything they've seen." Meanwhile, Colonel Sung-Ho Park was training a new kind of soldier. The Terran Marine Corps was made up of volunteers from mining crews, construction, workers and engineers, people who were used to working in space and solving problems with whatever tools they had. "The aliens have better armor and weapons," he told his Marines, "but they've been winning for so long that they've forgotten how to adapt. They expect us to fight fair. We're going to fight smart." The Marines practiced boarding actions on derelict ships, learning to turn maintenance tools into weapons and use the enemy's own equipment against them. They weren't traditional soldiers, but they were resourceful and determined. As the 30-day deadline approached, the Volonic Empire prepared for an easy victory. High Commander Vexathari assembled a conquest fleet, 50 warships that had never been defeated. They were confident that the sight of their massive vessels would be enough to make the humans surrender. On the last day of the ultimatum, Vexathari's fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. She opened a communication channel to all human colonies. "Your time has ended," she announced. "Surrender now, and we will allow some of your species to live as servants. Continue to resist, and we will destroy every human in the galaxy." The response came not from Earth's government, but from Admiral Dong-Hyun Kong, commander of the Human Defense Fleet. His face appeared on Vexathari's screen, showing no fear. "High Commander," he said calmly, "we've considered your offer carefully. Our answer remains the same." He paused, and for the first time in the conversation, he smiled. "Go to hell." The communication ended, and Vexathari felt something she had never experienced before: uncertainty. These humans were not reacting as they should. They showed no fear, no desperation, only defiance. "Begin the attack," she ordered. "Destroy their outer defenses." The Volonic ships moved forward in perfect formation, their shields glowing and weapons charging. They expected to face a few dozen human warships in a traditional battle. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by thousands of small, fast-moving objects that swarmed around their fleet like angry insects. The human drones attacked from every direction. Some exploding against Volonic shields, others slipping through to strike the crystal hulls directly. Captain Soo-Young Kim led a squadron of human fighters in a daring attack on the Volonic flagship. Her ship was tiny compared to the Crystal Throne, but it was fast and unpredictable. "Remember," she told her pilots, "we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to break their toys." Her fighter dove under the alien ship's shields and fired a volley of kinetic rounds directly into the crystal hull. Cracks spread across the surface as the alien ship shuddered. For the first time in Volonic history, their flagship had been damaged by an enemy attack. High Commander Vex Thari watched, in shock as her perfect formation fell apart under the chaotic human assault. 3 of her ships had already been destroyed, and more were taking damage. "This is impossible," she whispered. "They're primitives. They shouldn't be able to—" Her ship shook as another human fighter rammed into the hull, sacrificing itself to create more cracks in the crystal structure. The humans weren't fighting to win a battle. They were fighting to prove a point, that they would never surrender, no matter the cost. And for the first time in 50,000 years, the Volonic Empire was losing. News of the human victory spread through Volonic space faster than their fastest ships. High Commander Vexithari's defeat at the edge of the human solar system was impossible to hide. For the first time in 50,000 years, the mighty Volonic Empire had been humiliated by a species they considered primitive. On the Volonic homeworld of Crystallis Prime, the High Council met in emergency session. Fleet Admiral Zeth Moran stood before the crystal throne of Supreme Overlord Keth Valdris, trying to explain how 50 advanced warships had been defeated by flying metal scraps. "The humans fight without honor," Zeth Moran reported. "They use swarm tactics, suicide attacks, and primitive kinetic weapons. They have no formation, no strategy, no discipline." "And yet they won," Keth Valdris said coldly. His voice echoed through the crystal chamber like breaking glass. "Explain to me how primitive chaos defeated Volonic order." Zeth Moran shifted uncomfortably. "They are unpredictable. Our battle computers cannot calculate their movements because they make no logical sense. They attack from all directions at once, ignoring their own safety. Are you telling me that our greatest strength, our logical, organized approach to warfare, has been defeated by random violence?" "Not random," Zeth Moran corrected. "Chaotic, but effective. They sacrifice individual ships to damage larger targets. They turn their own weakness into a weapon." Keth Valdris rose from his throne, his 4 arms spreading wide. "Then we will respond with overwhelming force. Prepare the 7th conquest. Fleet. 200 ships. If the humans want to play with fire, we will show them what a real inferno looks like." Back on Earth, humanity was learning the same lesson. Admiral Dong-Hyun Kang studied the battle reports with growing concern. "We won," he told President Min-Ho Lee, "but barely. We lost 40% of our fighters and 6 major ships. If they come back with more ships, then we need to be ready," President Lee replied. "How long do we have?" "Intelligence suggests they're mobilizing a much larger fleet," reported Captain Ji Woo-han. "Maybe 3 to 4 weeks before they return." Dr. Hye-Jin Nam had been analyzing captured Volonic technology from the destroyed ships. "I've found something interesting," she announced at the daily strategy meeting. "Their weapons are incredibly advanced, but they're designed for fighting other organized fleets. They have trouble targeting small, fast-moving objects." She displayed a hologram of Volonic weapon systems. "Look at this. Their targeting computers are built to predict and counter logical military tactics. But human tactics aren't logical, they're adaptive and creative." Engineer Tae-Min Song had been working on new ship designs based on the battle data. "The drones worked better than we hoped," he said, "but we need something bigger for the next fight, something that can carry more firepower but still move unpredictably." Lieutenant Hanul Kim had an idea. "What if we don't just build more ships? What if we turn space itself into a weapon? She explained her plan to the gathered officers. "We have millions of asteroids in our solar system. What if we strap engines and guidance systems to them? Turn them into guided missiles the size of mountains?" General Insu Yang understood immediately. Kinetic bombardment on a massive scale. Even their shields couldn't stop a mountain moving at orbital velocity. "Exactly," Hanul said. "And we have the mining equipment to do it. We've been moving asteroids for decades." While the engineers worked on new weapons, Colonel Sung Ho Park was training more Marines for ship-to-ship combat. His soldiers came from all over human space: miners from Ceres, construction workers from the Jupiter moons, engineers from Mars. "The aliens expect soldiers to fight like machines," he told his troops. "Follow orders, use standard tactics, retreat when outgunned. But we're not machines. We're human beings, and human beings are the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy." When we're angry, Private Bo Ram Lee, a former mining engineer, raised her hand. "Colonel, how do we fight enemies with better armor and weapons?" "You use what you know," Xiang Ho replied. "You've spent years in space, fixing things that break, solving problems with whatever tools you have. That's exactly what we need in combat. People who can think on their feet and adapt to anything." Dr. Hyejin Nam made another breakthrough while studying Volonic communication systems. "I've been monitoring their transmissions," she told Admiral Yansu Choi. "They're not just angry about losing, they're confused. Their whole society is based on the idea that superior technology equals victory." "What do you mean?" "They've been winning for so long that they've forgotten how to deal with failure. Every other species they've encountered either surrendered immediately or was crushed quickly. We're the first to fight back effectively." This gave Admiral Choi an idea. "What if we take the fight to them? They're expecting us to defend our solar system. What if we attack their territory instead?" Captain Woo Jin Choi, Yonsu's nephew, had been modified human ships for long-range missions. "We've reverse-engineered their faster-than-light engines. From the wreckage," he reported. "Not perfect, but good enough to reach their territory." "How many ships could we send?" Admiral Choi asked. "Maybe 20 ships for a first strike. Small, fast vessels loaded with kinetic weapons and explosives." The plan was risky, but it made sense. While the Volonics prepared their massive fleet to attack Earth, humans would strike at their undefended colonies. Captain Young-min Lee volunteered to lead the first human strike force outside the solar system. His mission was simple: find Volonic territory and cause as much damage as possible. "Remember," Admiral Choi told the strike force, "you're not trying to conquer their worlds. You're trying to send a message. Show them that humans can reach anywhere in the galaxy." 3 weeks after the first battle, the Volonic 7th Conquest Fleet approached the solar system. 200 massive warships, each one capable of destroying a planet. Fleet Admiral Zethmaran was confident that this time, human resistance would be crushed. But when they arrived, they found something unexpected. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Asteroids moved on powered trajectories, creating a maze of obstacles. Space stations had been converted into weapons platforms. And somewhere among the asteroids and debris, thousands of human ships waited. "It's like they've weaponized an entire star system," reported Captain Vel Theron from the scout ship Shard of Light. "Impossible," Zeth Moran replied. "No species has that kind of industrial capacity. But humans did. In 3 weeks, they had moved asteroids, built weapons platforms, and created the largest defensive network in galactic history. Every piece of space junk had been turned into a potential weapon. And then Captain Young-min Lee's strike force hit the Volonic mining world of Pharos 7. The mining colony had never been attacked. It had minimal defenses and no warning. Human. Ships appeared out of faster-than-light travel and immediately began destroying everything in sight. Captain Sora Choi led her fighters in an attack on the orbital mining platforms. "Remember," she told her pilots, "we're not here to fight fair. We're here to break things." The humans used the aliens' own mining equipment against them, turning asteroid processors into weapons and cargo haulers into guided missiles. Within 6 hours, Pharaoh 7 was in ruins. The message was clear. If the Volonics wanted to threaten human worlds, humans would threaten Volonic worlds. Fleet Admiral Zeth Moran received the news just as his fleet engaged the solar system defenses. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. These humans weren't just defending their territory. They were promising to turn the entire galaxy into a battlefield, and they had the industrial power to do it. The Battle of the Outer Rim began at dawn on Earth, though in space there was no real dawn or dusk. Fleet Admiral Zeth Moran's 200 ships faced a solar system that had been transformed into the largest fortress in galactic history. Captain Wu Jin Choi watched from the bridge of his ship, the Defiant Hammer, as the Volonic fleet approached. Around him, thousands of human vessels waited among the asteroids and debris fields. Some were proper warships, others were converted cargo haulers and mining ships. All of them carried the same message: humans would not surrender. All ships. "This is Admiral Dong Hyun Kang," came the voice over the communication system. "Today we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting to prove that no species has the right to threaten another's home. Make them remember this day." The Volonic ships opened fire first, their energy weapons lighting up space with deadly beams. But the humans had learned from the first battle. Instead of meeting them head-on, they scattered like a flock of birds, each ship moving independently. Lieutenant Ha Nul Kim's asteroid weapons activated. Massive rocks, each one fitted with engines and guidance systems, began moving toward the Volonic fleet. They moved slowly compared to ships, but they were unstoppable. "Once they built up speed, target the asteroid weapons," Zeth Moran ordered. But destroying a mountain-sized rock required concentrated fire, and while his ships focused on the asteroids, human fighters swarmed around them like angry wasps. Captain Soo-Young Kim led her squadron in a daring attack on the Volonic command ship. Her fighters were tiny compared to the massive alien vessel, but they were fast and unpredictable. "Remember the plan," she told her pilots. "We're not trying to destroy that ship. We're trying to blind it." Her fighters dove toward the alien ship's sensor arrays, firing kinetic rounds at the crystalline structures that helped the ship see and communicate. One by one, the sensors shattered under the impact of tungsten bullets fired at incredible speeds. On the Volonic flagship, Zeth Moran watched his perfect battle plan fall apart. His ships were designed to fight other fleets in organized formations, but humans didn't fight in formations. They fought like a swarm of independent predators. "Sir, we're losing sensor contact with the outer ships," reported his communications officer. "The humans are targeting our command and control systems." "Impossible," Zeth Moran said. "They lack the technology to—" His words were cut off as a converted human cargo ship, loaded with explosives, rammed into one of his destroyers. The Volonic ship's shields held for a moment, then failed as the kinetic energy transferred into the crystal hull. Cracks spread across the surface, and the ship broke apart like glass. Captain Youngmin Lee's strike force had been busy while the main battle raged. His ships had hit 3 more Volonic colonies, and reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Everywhere humans struck, they used the same tactics: turn the enemy's own infrastructure against them. On the mining world of Ketha 9, Lieutenant Arayum Park led her Marines in an assault on the main processing facility. The Volonic defenders expected a traditional military attack. Instead, the humans used mining charges to collapse underground tunnels, trapping the aliens in their own bases. "We're not trying to occupy these worlds," she told her troops. "We're showing them that nowhere is safe if they threaten our home." Back in the solar system, the battle was reaching its climax. The human swarm tactics were working, but at a terrible cost. For every Volonic ship destroyed, humans lost dozens of smaller vessels. The space around Earth was filled with debris from both fleets. Dr. Hee-Jin Nam, monitoring the battle from Mars Base Alpha, made a disturbing discovery. "The Volonic ships aren't just retreating," she told Admiral Yeonsu Choi. "They're sending distress signals to their home fleet." "What does that mean?" "It means this isn't their main force. This is just the advance guard. The real fleet is still coming." Admiral Choi felt a chill. If 200 ships was just the beginning, how many more would the Volonics send? But High Commander Vexithari, observing the battle from her flagship, was having her own doubts. She had expected the humans to be crushed quickly. Instead, they were fighting with a fury and creativity that defied all Volonic understanding. "These creatures are insane," she said to her aide. "They sacrifice their own ships to damage ours. They turn civilian equipment into weapons. They fight without any regard for their own survival." "Perhaps that is their weakness," suggested Captain Kel Miran. "If they value their own lives so little, maybe we can use that against them." But Vexithari was beginning to understand something that terrified her. The humans weren't fighting without regard for their lives. They were fighting because their lives and the lives of their families were threatened. They weren't being reckless. They were being protective, and a protective parent was the most dangerous creature in the universe. The battle turned when Captain Daeho Kim executed a plan that no Volonic commander could have predicted. Instead of trying to destroy the enemy fleet, he decided to capture it. His ship, Terra's Hope, had been modified with magnetic grappling systems designed for asteroid mining. While the Volonic ships focused on the larger human vessels, Daeho's team attached themselves to the underside of an alien cruiser. "Cutting through the hull now," reported his engineer. "Their crystal armor is tough, but it's brittle. One good. Hit in the right place." The human team broke into the Volonic ship and began working their way toward the bridge. The aliens inside had never faced boarding action. Their ships were designed to be impregnable fortresses. They had no experience fighting intruders in their own corridors. But humans had been fighting in confined spaces for their entire history. Every human knew how to fight in tunnels, buildings, and ships. It was as natural as breathing. Colonel Sung-Ho Park's Marines proved this when they captured the Volonic communications ship, using nothing but standard mining tools and improvised weapons. They took control of the enemy's command center. "This is Colonel Park to all human forces," he announced over the captured alien communication system. "We now have access to their fleet coordination, transmitting target priorities now." Suddenly, human forces knew exactly where to strike. The Volonic fleet's careful coordination fell apart as their command structure was compromised. Fleet Admiral Zethmaran watched in horror as his fleet disintegrated around him. 60% of his ships were destroyed or disabled. The humans had turned what should have been a simple conquest into a devastating defeat. "Order a retreat," he said quietly. "Sir, you heard me. Order all remaining ships to withdraw. We need to report this to the High Council." As the surviving Volonic ships fled, Admiral Dong-Hyun Kang surveyed the battlefield. The cost had been enormous. Nearly half the human fleet was gone, and thousands of brave people had died. But they had won. More importantly, they had sent a message to the galaxy. Humans could not be intimidated, could not be threatened, and would not surrender. Any species that tried to destroy humanity would find themselves in a fight that would reshape the stars themselves. Captain So-Ra Choi, floating in the wreckage of her fighter, was rescued by a human recovery ship. As they pulled her aboard, she looked back at the debris field that had once been the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. "Did we win?" she asked weakly. "We survived," replied the rescue pilot. "For humans, that's the same thing." But the war was far from over. On Crystalis Prime, Supreme Overlord Keth Valdris was preparing a response that would either crush humanity forever or destroy the Volonic Empire trying. 6 months after the Battle of the Outer Rim, the galaxy was a different place. The Volonic Empire, which had ruled unchallenged for 50,000 years, was facing rebellions on a dozen worlds. And at the center of it all were humans who refused to stay in their solar system. Captain Young Min Lee stood on the bridge of his ship, the Revenge of Earth, as it emerged from faster-than-light travel near the Volonic industrial world of Mechanus 4. Around him, 20 human ships appeared like ghosts in the darkness of space. "Target the orbital factories," he ordered. "Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to send a message." The human fleet struck without warning. Their ships, smaller and faster than Volonic vessels, darted between the massive orbital platforms like predators hunting in a school of fish. They weren't trying to hold territory. They were trying to prove that nowhere in Volonic space was safe. Lieutenant Sora Choi, recovered from her injuries and back in a fighter cockpit, led her squadron against a Volonic patrol ship. "These aliens still don't understand," she told her pilots. "They think this is about territory. It's not. It's about respect." Her fighters swarmed the patrol ship, not trying to destroy it, but to disable it. They wanted survivors to carry the message back to their commanders. Humans had come to Volonic space, and they would keep coming until the Empire learned to leave humanity alone. On the planet below, something unprecedented was happening. The native species, called the Nethrin, were watching human forces attack their Volonic oppressors. For 3,000 years, the Nethrin had been slaves, mining rare metals for the Empire. They had never seen anyone fight the Volonics and win. Commander, Aram Park led a team of Marines to the planet's surface. Their mission was to destroy the mining equipment, but what they found changed everything. "These aren't Volonic workers," she reported to Captain Young Min. "These are slaves. The Volonics have been using conquered species as forced labor." The Nethrin were small, furry creatures with large eyes and 6 limbs. They cowered when they first saw the humans, expecting more violence. But Aram's Marines didn't hurt them. Instead, they began destroying the control collars that kept the Nethrin enslaved. "You're free," Aram told them through a universal translator. "The Volonics can't hurt you anymore." An elderly Nethrin named Kishital approached carefully. "Free?" he repeated. "We do not understand this word. We have served the Empire since our grandparents' time." "Not anymore," Aram said. "We're humans. We're at war with the Volonic Empire. Anyone who wants to fight them is our friend." Word of human liberation spread quickly. On world after world, enslaved species learned that someone was finally fighting back against their oppressors. The humans didn't want to rule them. They just wanted them to be free. Captain Jun Seo Kim discovered this when his ship reached the world of Quill Prime, home to the bird-like Quillians. These creatures had been forced to build Volonic warships for centuries. When human forces arrived, the Quillians expected to simply change masters. "We're not here to conquer you," Jun Seo explained to their leader, Chirpes Velithon. "We're here to ask if you want to fight for your own freedom." Velithon was confused. "Fight? We do not know how to fight. We build. We serve. That is our nature." "Then we'll teach you," Jun Seo said. "Because freedom isn't something someone gives you. It's something you take." Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Hyejin Nam was analyzing intelligence from the captured alien, slaves. What she discovered changed humanity's understanding of the entire galaxy. "The Volonic Empire isn't just an empire," she told President Minho Lee. "It's a system of oppression that covers thousands of worlds. They don't just conquer species, they break them psychologically, make them believe that slavery is natural." She displayed a map of Volonic space. There are at least 30 intelligent species under their control. Some have been slaves for so long that they don't remember being free. President Lee understood the implications immediately. "If we can free these species, we turn the Empire's greatest strength against itself," Dr. Nam finished. "All those slave worlds become rebellions. All that forced labor becomes resistance." Admiral Kyung-ho Nam, Dr. Nam's brother, was already planning the next phase of human operations. "We can't fight the entire Volonic Empire directly," he told the military council, "but we can support the species fighting for their own freedom." This led to Operation Liberation, the largest human military undertaking in history. Instead of focusing on destroying Volanic ships, humans began targeting the control systems that kept enslaved species in line. Captain Mi-young Park led a team that specialized in breaking slave control systems. Her engineers had learned to disable Volanic mind control devices, free slave labor camps, and teach oppressed species how to fight back. The hardest part isn't the technology, she explained to her team. It's convincing people who have been slaves for generations that they can be free. But humans were persuasive teachers. They shared their own history, how they had fought wars for freedom, how they had overthrown oppressive governments, how they had learned that liberty was worth any sacrifice. The Vorthak, a species of large, armored creatures, were the first to join the human cause. They had been used as living war machines by the Volanics, fitted with control implants that forced them to fight other enslaved species. Captain Changmin Lee removed the control implant from a Vorthak warrior named Grakthor. When the creature realized he was free to make his own choices, he wept, something Vorthak had not done in 1,000 years. "We will fight," Grakthor declared. "We will fight until every chain is broken and every cage is opened." High Commander Vexathari watched these developments with growing alarm. Her empire was falling apart, and it was all because of one stubborn species that refused to accept defeat. "The humans are like a virus," she told Supreme Overlord Keth Valdris. "Everywhere they go, they spread rebellion. Our slave species are remembering what it means to be free." Keth Valdris was furious. "Then we will destroy every world that rebels. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who defy us." "My lord," Vexathari said carefully, "if we destroy our own worlds, we lose the resources that power our empire. The humans are forcing us to choose between maintaining control and maintaining our strength. Then we will destroy the source," Keth Valdris declared. "Prepare the final fleet. Every ship we have, every weapon in our arsenal. We will go to the human home system and burn their world to ash. When humanity is extinct, the rebellions will end." But humanity had other plans. Admiral Dong-Yun Kang had been preparing for exactly this possibility. If the Volanics wanted to bet everything on one final battle, humans would be ready. "They're mobilizing everything," reported intelligence officer Jin-Soo Park. "Over 1,000 ships, including their super dreadnoughts. They're planning to destroy Earth itself." "Let them come," Admiral Kang replied. "We've turned our entire solar system into a fortress, and we won't be fighting alone." He was right. Across the galaxy, liberated species were preparing to help their human liberators. The Nethrin had modified their mining equipment into weapons. The Quillians were building new types of fighters. The Vorthak were training for zero-gravity combat. For the first time in galactic history, the oppressed were fighting back together. The message went out across all human territory. The Volanic Empire is coming with everything they have. They want to destroy our home and enslave our people. This is our moment. This is when we show the galaxy that some species cannot be conquered, cannot be intimidated, and will never surrender. Captain Daeho Kim, now commanding a fleet of liberated alien vessels alongside human ships, transmitted the final message to Earth. "We're ready. Whatever they throw at us, we'll throw it back twice as hard." The greatest battle in galactic history was about to begin. And for the first time since the war started, humans were not fighting alone. The final fleet of the Volanic Empire was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Over 1,000 warships, including the massive super dreadnoughts that had never been defeated, moved through space toward Earth's solar system. Supreme Overlord Keth Valdris himself commanded from the flagship Eternal Crystal, determined to end the human rebellion once and for all. "When we finish here," he told his commanders, "every species in the galaxy will remember what happens. To those who defy us, the humans will be extinct, and their alien allies will return to their chains." But as the Volanic fleet approached the solar system, they found something they had not expected. The space around Earth was filled with ships from dozens of different species. Nethrin mining vessels converted to fighters. Quillian construction, ships armed with human weapons. Vorthak war barges carrying former slaves eager for revenge. Admiral Donghyun Kong stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Unconquered Earth, surrounded by representatives from every liberated species. "Today we're not just defending one world," he announced. "We're fighting for the freedom of the entire galaxy." The battle began at the edge of the solar system near Pluto. Captain Young Min Lee's fast attack force met the Volonic advance guard in a swirling dogfight among the ice and rock of the outer planets. "Remember," he told his mixed squadron of human and alien pilots, "we're not trying to stop them here. We're making them angry, making them careless." His strategy worked. The Volonic ships, frustrated by the hit-and-run tactics, began to break formation as they chased the smaller ships deeper into the solar system. This was exactly what the humans wanted. Lieutenant Ha Nul Kim's asteroid weapons had been improved over the months of war. Now they were guided by artificial intelligence systems created by the Quillians, who were excellent at building thinking machines. When the Volonic fleet reached the asteroid belt, they found themselves in a maze of intelligent rocks that could predict their movements and adjust course to intercept. "Impossible," muttered Fleet Commander Zarthek as he watched a mountain-sized asteroid change direction to ram his ship. "Rocks cannot think." "Human rocks can," replied his aide, just before the impact tore their ship apart. Captain Su Young, Kim, now commanding a squadron of mixed human and Nethrin fighters, led an attack on the Volonic super-dreadnought Death's Crystal. The massive ship was protected by shields that could stop entire fleets, but Kim had learned something important during the months of fighting. "The bigger they are," she told her pilots, "the harder it is for them to track small targets. Get inside their shield perimeter and stay close to the hull." Her fighters, followed by Nethrin mining drones and Vorthak assault pods, swarmed over the super-dreadnought like insects on a giant. They couldn't destroy it directly, but they could blind its sensors, jam its communications, and disable its weapons one by one. Meanwhile, on Mars, Dr. Hae-Jin Nam was coordinating the defense from the military command center. "The Volonic fleet is larger than we expected," she reported to President Min-Ho Lee, "but they're making the same mistake they always make, which is they're fighting like an empire, organized, hierarchical, predictable. We're fighting like a revolution, chaotic, adaptive, and impossible to predict." The truth of her words became clear as the battle moved closer to Earth. The Volonic fleet tried to maintain formation and follow their battle plan, but human and allied forces attacked from every direction at once. Some ships rammed enemy vessels. Others used suicide tactics. Still others simply disappeared into asteroid fields, only to emerge and attack when least expected. Captain Arium Park led a boarding action against a Volonic command ship, supported by Vorthak warriors who had spent their lives dreaming of this moment. "For every species you enslaved," she shouted as her team fought through the alien corridors. "For every world you destroyed." The Vorthak warriors, freed from their control implants, fought with a fury that terrified their former masters. They had been forced to fight for the Empire for generations. Now they were fighting against it, and their rage was unstoppable. But the real surprise came when Supreme Overlord Keth Valdris himself entered the battle. His flagship, the Eternal Crystal, was the largest ship ever built, a mobile fortress, the size of a small moon. Its weapons could destroy planets, and its shields had never been breached. "Humans," his voice boomed across all communication channels, "you have fought bravely, but your rebellion ends here. Surrender now, and I will allow your species to survive as slaves. Continue to resist, and I will turn your homeworld to dust." The response came not from Earth's government, but from Captain Daeho Kim, the man who had first encountered the Volonic Empire all those months ago. "Keth Valdris," he said calmly, "we've heard threats like that before. They didn't work then, and they won't work now. Come and take our world if you can." The super dreadnought opened fire on Earth, its massive weapons capable of cracking continents. But Earth was protected by layers of defense that the Volonics had never seen before. Artificial gravity fields deflected the energy beams. Massive shield generators, built from captured alien technology, absorbed the impact. And when the shields began to fail, thousands of ships, human and alien alike, threw themselves between the planet and the enemy fire. Captain Mi-young Park sacrificed her ship to stop one of the planet-killer beams, ramming her vessel into the Eternal Crystal's main gun just as it fired. The explosion tore a hole in the super dreadnought's hull and sent debris raining into space. "This is for everyone who died because you thought you owned the galaxy," she transmitted as her ship broke apart. But the most important moment came, when the Quillian leader, Chirpus Velithon, made a discovery that changed everything. Her people had built Volonic ships for centuries, and she knew their technology better than anyone. "The Eternal Crystal has a weakness," she announced over the battle communications. "The power core that feeds its weapons, it's the same design we used to build for them. If someone could reach it..." Admiral Kyung-ho Nam understood immediately. "A sabotage mission. Get inside the ship and destroy it from within." Colonel Sung-ho Park volunteered to lead the mission. His team of Marines, supported by liberated aliens who knew Volonic technology, would have to fight their way through the largest ship in the galaxy to reach its heart. "This is probably a one-way trip," he told his volunteers. "Good," replied Grakthor, the Vorthak warrior. "I have waited my whole life for the chance to strike at the heart of their empire." The assault team launched from a captured Volonic transport, hidden among the debris of the battle. They fought their way through corridors filled with crystal, guards, and automated defenses, leaving a trail of destruction behind them. When they reached the power core, they found Supreme Overlord Keth Valdris waiting for them. The alien ruler was massive, his crystalline armor gleaming with power, his 4 arms holding weapons that could cut through steel. "So," he said, "the slaves have come to face their master." "We're not slaves," Sung-ho replied, raising his weapon. "We're free beings fighting for our right to exist. That's something you'll never understand." The battle inside the power core chamber was brief but vicious. Keth Valdris was stronger and better armed, but he was fighting alone against an entire team of warriors who had nothing left to lose. Grakthor dealt the final blow, his massive claws tearing through the Supreme Overlord's armor. "For my people," he said as the alien ruler fell, "for all the people you enslaved." With their leader dead and their flagship crippled, the Volonic fleet began to fall apart. Ship after ship surrendered or fled, and the few that continued fighting were overwhelmed by the combined human and alien forces. High Commander Vex Athari, watching from her own ship as her empire collapsed around her, made a decision that would have been unthinkable months earlier. She opened a communication channel to Admiral Donghyun Kang. "Admiral," she said, her voice filled with exhaustion, "I formally surrender the Volonic Empire to your authority. Our fleet stands down. The greatest war in galactic history was over. Humanity had not just survived, they had liberated an entire galaxy." In the aftermath, representatives from dozens of species gathered on Earth to create something new. They called it the Terran Confederation, not an empire built on conquest, but an alliance based on mutual defense and shared freedom. Dr. Haiwan Choi, Earth's new ambassador to the galaxy, addressed the first meeting of the Confederation Council. "We didn't fight this war to rule you," she said. "We fought it to prove that no one has the right to rule anyone else. Every species in this confederation is free to make their own choices, follow their own path, and defend their own territory." Captain Jae-hyun Park, now commanding the Confederation flagship Defiance, patrolled the space where the final battle had been fought. The debris field had been cleared, but the memory remained. This was where the galaxy had learned that some species could not be conquered, could not be threatened, and would never surrender. Years later, when young beings from across the galaxy studied history, they would learn about the species that changed everything. Humans hadn't been the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced, but when someone threatened their home, they had responded with such fury and determination that they reshaped the stars themselves.